Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Fire Breathing Rob. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Definitely share these videos. They're with interesting people that have done a lot of great things around the country. And now we're even interviewing people around the world. So thanks so much for that. And this is Mike Hartsky. He is, and if you know anything about Canine Companions for Independence, because we have had a few puppy raisers on this program before. It's really incredible what the organization does, but not only just the organization, what the puppy raisers do. I say, Mike, before we get into the thick of things here, I just want to say thank you, not only for what you've done for Emerson and many other dogs and many people in general. It's just really amazing. And you are truly a special man. And you are a hero for what you've done to people, done for people rather, all around the country, and for these dogs, how you raise them with the love and happiness that you do. And we hope that all the people that do get the dogs that you've brought up from little babies, that they treat them with the same love and kindness that you do. And you are really an amazing person, Mike, and I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thanks so much for doing what you're doing.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Mike, let's get into this. Can you tell people that, just listening to this the first time, maybe they have not heard our other podcasts about puppy raising and CCI in general, what Canine Companions for Independence is?
Yes, yes, I can. And this is where it gets exciting. I like to talk about Canine Companions as much as I can because I carry two dogs with me every place that I go. And Canine Companions is an organization that was developed back in 1975 with a mission in mind to provide people that have developmental or physical disabilities other than the blind with assistance dogs to allow these people to improve their lives tremendously through the assistance that these dogs do provide. However, the success of this program was based on a number of things. One, dedication of the people that contribute on a daily basis, corporate America, and I think most importantly, the puppy raisers that volunteer to do this. The reason why puppy raisers are so important, it's where it all starts. After the breeder caretakers out in California, these dogs are bred out there purposely with the intent of being placed into service. And they've been watching these puppies since 1975. When they breed one set to another set, they track it through. As a result of this breeding, they produced so many puppies, and out of those puppies, maybe 2 or 3 actually made it completely through the program. Now you're talking about 2 years of hard work before these puppies even get placed into service. So a puppy raiser like me would get a dog that would be about an 8-week-old puppy, comes in right off the airplane in a kennel crate, and from California. And from then on, it's my responsibility to make sure that I forge ahead and pushes this puppy through as much experiences and successes in a very positive and encouraging way, so that they know that they can extend that to eventually to the people that will receive these puppies. So as a puppy raiser, I have a big responsibility. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's quite a commitment, but let me tell you something. When I first heard about the program, I was reading it in a email bulletin back there, probably, years ago. I worked in corporate America at the time, and it came across a bulletin. I read, wait a minute, there's these people that bring these puppies into work, and they're allowed to do that, and then and they get the work experience there. They bring them back and forth, and then they go home and they're there with them. The next day they bring them back, and wait a minute. Then I read further and said, and they do this for how long? 1.5 years? And then what do? They give them back to the program. So you lose them after all that work. I said, oh no, that's not for me. And that lasted for about 23.5 seconds, because then I sat back in my chair just like I'm doing now and going, I am a dummy. I'm looking at it from the wrong perspective. This is really not about me, is it? No, it's not. It's about helping somebody else that will be better off as a result of the things that I contribute based on my experience with raising dogs over the year. And I thought to myself, this actually is a great, great idea. So almost 20 years ago, I started with my first puppy, raising for Canine Companions for Independence. Puppy raising is a wonderful experience. There's a lot of people that do it. For the program, there's return puppy raisers that continue to do it. Sometimes one-timers, sometimes it's too much for people, which you can certainly understand because this commitment is a noble one. I don't accept any responsibility or credit for the fact that these dogs end up being so successful. I have one formula that I use on a consistent basis is providing love and caring for these dogs, keep them fed and happy and emotionally stable, expose them to just about anything else in this world that you can possibly imagine that they need to be exposed to. I even forget things. You're at a baseball stadium, right? And you think that you got your puppy there for a reason because they're socializing with climbing bleachers, open stairways, the crowd's noise, all the different foods that are falling on the floor that they're not allowed to eat or touch. And then what happens on Friday nights at a ball game? Here comes the fireworks, right? Boom, 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 boom. And you say, oh my gosh, and watch the dog's reaction. A lot of the dogs will sit there and go, is that all you got? Because they're clueless. They come to you young and unexposed to just about anything that they have not done because it's up to you to socialize with them. So here's my goal in every puppy that I do. My goal is to socialize this dog in a year and a half in the age that I am in now. I'm 65 years old doing this, right? So I got to cram 65 years of my experience in socialization into this dog in a year and a half. Can you imagine that? I even forget to do things that people take for granted. We take for granted on a daily basis. What about slamming a door? We take that for granted? Absolutely. It's something that happens every day. What about noises? What about smells? What about a dog that's being raised in the city? You think it's different than a dog that's being raised in the country? You bet it is. So you got puppy raisers that live in the city. You got puppy raisers that live in the country. And guess what we do? Switch dogs. So suddenly the city dog becomes a rural dog with all the different smells, sights, and sounds and senses, right? And vice versa. So the dogs get that socialization experiences. And then we also have puppy classes. Can you imagine having a puppy class? Puppy classes is a group of puppy raisers that bring their puppy into class. And they get somebody like me who's real excited about doing this kind of stuff and teaches them in a group. And everybody really has a good time because it's never overbearing or intimidating. There's always sensitivity when we teach these puppies and puppy raisers because we're all volunteers. If I had people coming in saying, Mike, I'm really having a tough time with my dog. He's not doing anything. He's not paying attention. And I always tell them when you have days like this, you remember to know that these dogs are at the end of a leash, right? Let me get a leash for you. I'll show you this.
Yeah.
Here's a leash. This is a puppy leash, right? So you're having a real bad day with your dog, right? And you have them at the end of this leash. So everything that you do because you're having a real wild day travels down this leash. And guess where it ends up? Right at the dog. The dog's clipped there. So anything that passes on is passing to the dog. So well, you know what I do, the puppy raisers? I said, turn the lead over. Give it to someone else for the class. Take the burden off you. Let us take care of the problem with the dog. And you find a lot of times it's not necessarily the puppy. It's the way they're being raised. And we just make some minor corrections on that. They become pretty much successful. But anyway, the types of dogs that I want to tell you about now, Canine Companions, these dogs are that, like I say, are raised by us for a year and a half. And then they go to back up to the regional office, which is assigned to a region. I report to the Northeast region, which is in Medford, New York. They're all trained the same way because you never know how they're going to end up. So the training is consistent. The advanced training, I got the little buddies in the back there. You're going to see those soon. You watch. They're usually identified somewhere down the line in their training process that either become a service dog, which just works with the individual one-on-one. It provides full service and training to the individual. Skill companions, in which it's paired with a parent and the child, student, or adult that needs the extra help. And then there's facilities dogs, which are usually signed to like Kaiser clinics and stuff like that for rehabilitation. And these facilities dogs also go to court to help people for testimony and things like that. They're placed into different types of facilities. And then there's also the Veterans Initiative. The veterans come back from post-traumatic issues and things, and there's a special program that's set up to assist the vets with receiving a dog, become their companion and caretaker for as long as they're certainly able to. So that's it in a nutshell. But there's so much expanse to this program, I could talk for hours. But people say, how do you get by? How do they become successful? Well, they become successful because of people like you. We have fundraising events. People contribute through their paychecks when they have I'm trying to think of the funding that they have. You can select a code and it goes to that. But you think about Amazon Smile or Smile Amazon. They give a portion of the proceeds directly to Canine Companions. It's not a large program, not a large amount, but every little bit helps, right? You can also contribute as a volunteer. There's a lot of things that go on that for fundraising that people fit right in. They don't necessarily have to raise puppies, but they can volunteer for an event like Dog Fest. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, Dog Fest is virtual this year. It's a big fundraiser where they all get together, and all the puppies from Canine Companions in that particular region are out with all the puppy raisers, and all the grad teams in that particular area come in with their dogs and everything and participate in a big fundraising event, which is a great opportunity for everybody to get together and see the results, the outcome of them being a puppy raiser, and gives the grads the opportunity to meet the puppy raiser again for the first time. Because I tell you what, you get a lot of gratitude from a lot of people for different reasons, but the gratitude you receive from a grad that receives one of these dogs is enormous. And you feel good about that because the impact that you've made for such a long period of time reaches fruition, and you get to see the accomplishments of everybody that contributes to that success. Remember the old expression, it takes a community, whole community to raise a child? But let me tell you something, it's true for these two back here, right? It's just not me, it's everybody else. We all share experiences. Tell you a puppy class, right? Say somebody might come up, my dog did such and such a thing, and I don't understand why. And I look at it and I say, that's a great idea. We need to do that. I completely forgot exposing my dog to that. What about street grates, right? Dog walks on a street grate, right? Do you know a dog sees a manhole cover as what? You know, a black void. He won't step on that manhole cover because he's going to see it and thinks it's a hole in the ground. He'll walk around it. So puppy raisers have to teach them at a very early age, go ahead and sit on it, you get a treat. Go ahead and stand on it, you get a treat. And if your feet fall through the little grates because they're too big, correct yourself to get you repositioned on that grate, give them a treat because they're doing exactly what they need to do. And it helps the people when they're out socializing in the cities and everything else on the roadways. You see a lot of street grates. This is just an example of so many things. But I can run on for hours, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask some questions. Rob.
All right, Mike. Well, you did bring up a lot of good points, and I have a lot of questions to roll right through. To talk to the people about, firstly, how much these dogs cost to breed, to raise, all the money that CCI puts into it, and not even just CCI, all the money you personally as a puppy raiser put into this. It's quite a bit of money. So can you talk about all those costs?
Absolutely. It's real easy. It happens that remember the program is based on the volunteer commitment. Volunteer means it's at your expense. You volunteer for it. The expenses that are associated with raising these puppies from the day that you receive them to the day that you turn in are borne by the puppy raisers. And what does that mean? That means all the dog food. That means all the vet bills. That means if the dog has to go back in for some surgery, a lot of the times the puppy raiser will have to pay that. In most cases, if you can afford to, they have programs in CCI that kind of compensates for emergency situations for like that. But all the kennels, right? How many kennels you have? I mean, I got one in my van. I got 3 in the house here because, you know, I have boarders. Puppy raisers go away sometimes that they can't take their dogs. So they call puppy raisers like me and say, can you watch whoever? And I have one that I'm watching. She's flying back in fact, this afternoon, which is good for her puppy. I had the dog for several days. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 10 days. I call this place Camp Hartsky and Puppy Retreat because that's how many dogs come in over a period of time in a year's time travel through here. And I like to think I add a little flavor to them when they get back to their puppy raisers. The one I just recently had was afraid of water, doesn't know how to swim. Dog's 7 months old. But you know, that's a challenge. That's an opportunity. And guess what? I got videotapes of the dog jumping in off the steps and swimming around that swimming pool that I sent to the puppy raiser. And her expression and her return from seeing the message, and her comment was, "You're absolutely amazing." No, I'm not amazing. I'm just gifted in that areas of taking care of these dogs and knowing enough on how to teach them to do the right thing at the right time. A lot of people don't. So I'm fortunate to have that ability, and I continue to do that. So was there another half that I was supposed to finish up with? I go off on so many tangents. You got to.
Oh, no, you're good, Mike. It was the cost.
Cost.
How much?
Let me get that. The cost. So it's all that coming out of my pocket, which I understand is my responsibility going into the program. That's what happens. And then when I turn it back in, the CCI picks up the remaining costs. It's been estimated many times, and it seems to hit this same number. From the breeder caretaker to the puppy raiser to advanced training and paying all the professional trainers up in New York, the administrative staff that supports these programs and everything, up to the point that he's actually given to a graduate, including graduate training and all. The value of these dogs is estimated $50,000 to $55,000. $50,000 to $55,000. And guess what? How much does it cost to grad? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. But it's just not me. It's the sequence of events that has led to the success of these dogs to get it to that point. Not all dogs make it. Nope, not all dogs make it. If we get 40%, we're doing good. If we're doing 30%, we're still doing good. Any dog that makes it, we're doing good. But there's never 100% because there's several reasons why a dog doesn't fit into the program after a while. It could be an illness, or it could be something that takes them away, like socialization issues. You can't have prey drive when he's hooked to somebody that's in a wheelchair, because what will happen? The dog will take off and pull the person over, and that'd be injury. So those kind of dogs are what they call change of career dogs, and they go back to the puppy raisers as the right first refusal, or they go into an adoption program that CCI kind of manages. So $50,000. So you think of all the placements that we have done, 450 something, I think this year is the quote that I last saw. And if you look at that times 50 grand, that's a lot of money. So who makes up for that cost? Fundraising events, as I mentioned, Dog Fest, corporate donors, corporate America, like Amazon, their contribution.
Can we talk about the naming, Mike?
Yeah, naming. The naming of the dog. That's interesting, right? So let's talk about naming. The breeder caretakers have an opportunity to name their puppies. Now, there are also other opportunities for larger donors to also participating in naming of the puppies. As an example, if you want to name a puppy, just write a check for $10,000. $10,000, about that. And it happens sometimes. But corporate America is benevolent in many ways because they have sponsor programs and matching funds, which is really great. If your boss at work, for instance, has a contribution or does contributions to outside organizations that benefit people, you might want to look into that and say, listen, I want Canine Companions to be on your list to donate this year because it's a wonderful program that affects so many people in so many ways. So they look at it that way. And endowments, right? So wills, people die and leave their proceeds that way. But the biggest thing is everybody can participate in one way or the other. And if you can't go to a dog fest, you can't raise a puppy, you can't contribute, you can't, and there's so many ways you can still contribute. And I always tell people, there's always the easy way, just write a check. And you can find out about that by online at cci.org. cci.org, Canine Companions for Independence.org, cci.org, and find different ways how you can contribute it without physically having to be there. But anything along those lines, it's a great thing. That just covers part of it, but it has to be consistent, contributing over several years to keep this program successful. And the more volunteers we have, the more dogs we can raise, right, to get these out to the grad teams, and the people that really need them.
Mike, can we talk about how many dogs that you've raised throughout your time in this program?
Yes, yes. I have two in this kennel right now. Ashworth is my 18th dog I raised for the program. And the little one, which you're going to meet real soon, is Broadway, also known as Knucklehead. Because he is just a little knucklehead. And that's what makes it cute about it. His innocence makes him such a sweetheart. And that kind of feeds the inspiration that we want to do the best for him. So, yeah, so it's 19 dogs with this program. I would like to say everyone was successful in one way or the other and continues to be successful. And as they drive forward and leading the group and getting these dogs out to people that really need them.
When you get the dog at, you said 8 weeks, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, when you get the dog at 8 weeks, how long does it take for the dog to get accustomed to the new surroundings, to you and anybody that you bring around you? Because, you know, the dogs are so young. So this, and then they're going from California with, you know, their mom and also their brothers and sisters in that litter to a whole different new environment, whole different new weather area. So it's a big difference. So how long does it take to get them accustomed to this new environment?
I think it parallels how long it takes me to get used to them. Because, you know, once again, it's a puppy. So, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning, guess what you got to do if you don't want to clean a mess up in the kennel? Well, there's techniques to do that. You know, narrow the kennel down and just be aware of, try to stay up as long as you can so the dog does his business so that you can actually sleep through the night. So you're getting used to each other. The dog will transition very quickly into a new environment. It's like, I'll give you an example. The 3 steps that's through this door right here that walks down to the level area where the pool is. A dog 8 weeks old has already been at the breeder caretaker's house in which they have these things. And if you ever watch these films, which you can, the cameras they have on them, the internet cameras, you can see your puppies. I saw him at the breeder caretaker's house in Santa Rosa. So when I knew I was getting him, I could go back to the puppy raiser and she would give me all watching him develop. And in their properties, and there's areas about the room of size like this, they have little steps to climb, they have up and down, they have little things that they climb over, they have a playpen area, they have little balls, they have little bones there. It's just quite a nightmare because, you know, a dog just doesn't have one in a litter. There's about 9. So you can imagine 9 little rascals running around all the time on this puppy cam. So you can watch them. So they come with skills already. Some of them are almost housebroken. Some of them will already know sit. Some of them know how to climb 3 sets of stairs. Some don't. So you have to balance to find out what the needs are. And a puppy will just explore his environment. You just got to make sure you remember when the last time he was out to hurry in the yard. So because you don't want him to stop and pull up in here. Not that it's ever a problem, because remember, it's not the puppy's fault that he stops and pees on this carpet right here. It's you because you haven't gotten him out in time. So it's one of those things you get to know each other. And the nice thing about dogs is they like routines. If you go outside of a routine, they'll adjust to it. It might take them a couple days or whatever, but they'll go back into it. And because I always have one on board, Ashworth's on board now. Broadway's here with me. Broadway's Ashworth's replacement when he goes in February to advanced training. The older one teaches the younger one the ropes, right? This is my house. This is where it goes. He follows the routine of the dog. So it takes away some of my training responsibility because he's copying exactly what the older dog knows, has been trained already. So I do an overlap for that reason. So there's a knowledge transfer, and it happens. Believe it or not, you think these dogs don't communicate with you. This little puppy is watching him all the time, and he's watching him getting corrected too, verbally. It's never physical. It's always verbal, and it's always with respect and dignity and loving respect. So these dogs get special care, and these dogs then learn from each other. And the knowledge transfer is very important. It makes my job a whole lot easier. If I tell one dog to sit, what do you think the other one's going to do? Because he just saw that one get a treat. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to sit. Does he know the command sit, the little one? No, he doesn't have to know it. He's just imitating. So he gets a reward for that action. So it's, yeah, there's a transition period, and dogs will pick up very quickly what the expectation is when they go in and when they go out, what time they fed. Let me tell you something. Do you ever see a dog about 3 o'clock in the afternoon in my house? He knows it's dinner time because they've been up at 4 o'clock this morning, you know, because that's when I get up to go to work. So if it's not, and their body clock was absolutely amazing. I get home from work at 2 o'clock, and if 3 o'clock gets hit, I got 3 dogs standing there looking at me at the face, and while I'm reading a newspaper, and I go, oh, it's got to be 3 o'clock, because they know it's time to eat. And if you try to break that up, they don't mind, because they know they're going to eat. But we all need reminders every once in a while, and they're good at doing that.
So how would you tell somebody that doesn't know anything about CCI, doesn't know anything about school companions or service dogs or even facility dogs, you know, about how they go to the bathroom on command?
Oh, that's easy. Sure it is. It's consistency. So the way that happens is you know pretty much about when the dog needs to go. If you got food in his belly, guess where you need to take him, right? Things move along. Take him out to hurry. First thing in the morning, I do something a little different. First thing in the morning, guess what? When the dog gets a little older, I do this, but I need to get him out to pee to bring him back in to eat, okay? And then he has to go back out. But in reality, what happens is every time I take him out, and you have to say the command, the learned action, which is hurry. Do you believe it used to be one? And you'll find all the commands are single syllables. So it's easy for the dog to understand, as opposed to that hurry command number of years ago was, you better go now. See how many words that is for a dog? Try to understand. Now it's just hurry. So you take a dog out, and the first thing he needs to do in the morning is what? Hurry, right? So he is not listening yet to what we haven't named it. So he's going to go out the yard, and whether I'm not going to say a thing, he's going to pee, right? Because that's what he needs to do. So I attach it to a name in that particular time. So when he does that, I say, good hurry, good boy, good hurry. So that he associates it with it. Now it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I know he's got to go out and hurry again, take him out. Now he knows that I practice that he has to go in a 3-foot radius. He doesn't have to, remember, we're not going for a walk. And a walk's for exercise. A hurry is for relief, okay? So it's just in a circle. He's learned to do that, and that's both number 1 and 2. So the important thing is just to reinforce it, and they understand what they need to do. Even if, like for instance, now if I take him outside because he's been in here so long, I take him out to the back here and tell him to hurry. He'll squat and pee because he's been told this is appropriate, and he's now tied that word into an action. So it's really not. How can I say this? It's really not difficult, but it's a consistency that has to take place for the dog to understand what you want. And that's true for every command. And I'm going to demonstrate a few things to you real soon that will show you that he doesn't know all the commands, the little one, by name, because there's no need for him to know by name at this size. All he's going to do is demonstrate. I'm going to demonstrate him doing the commands, which is going to surprise you, and he doesn't know he's going to do it because he's following a piece of food around.
But to go to the bathroom, it's every, what, 4 or 5 hours, something like that?
Yeah, if you went for a little puppy, I know Ashworth, he'll hold it for 6 hours. Right. Is that good for a dog? Well, you want to push it out that far if it's for instance, if you're in an airplane or something like that, right? You want to hurry the dog at the airport because they have spots for that, because it's going to be a long time before he goes again. And the dog understands that because of his age. At that time, he's with the grad. He's been through so many environments in which he has to hold himself. One of the questions on a monthly puppy report, I'm required to do a puppy report on the progress of what the dog has learned and what he will be learning. And if there's any problems, we write that up. But the important thing is how many hours in the kennel, right? So you can take that literally, like he was in the kennel for 2 hours and I took him out to hurry. Or you can say, no, it's all part of, he's in the kennel for 5 hours and then he's done for the day. So he's out of the kennel. So like I said, the kennel is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's never a negative thing. Like some people make the mistake of disciplining their dog and stick him in the kennel. That's not right. You stick him in the kennel, he's rewarded because that's a safe place and that's a timeout for you. So it's a very positive thing. Regardless, the dog took the dump right in the middle of the living room floor. Now, are you going to yell at the dog for that? Well, you can't, because here's the situation. It was your fault in the first place, unless the dog's sick. You need to get the dog out sooner. You need to improve your timing. You need to understand the dog's mechanism. So those kind of things you just figure out after a while, and you never have those problems. You know, it's the way you communicate with your dog on the way things are, on the system in your own household. They'll adjust. They're wonderful animals. They're just adjust.
Like we talked earlier about before we went and recorded, we talked about the dogs swimming. You have a big pool in the back. How do you teach the dogs to swim? Do they just generally know right away how to swim? Is it like a survival technique that they know as they're born, or how does that all work?
So if I just have one dog and no other dog, I'm at somewhat of a disadvantage, because you know the dogs are imitators. If I bring a new puppy here to the house, day one, which I had 3 days ago, a dog was dropped off. He was afraid of water. And the puppy raiser has a pool. He's afraid of water. The puppy raiser had a pool. At day two, that dog was swimming on his own in the pool, because another number of things happened during that period of time. One, the dog suddenly realizes, hey, if I'm in the water, I can swim automatically. Most dogs, you know, in fact, Labs and Goldens, which I'm most familiar with, by nature, you drop them in the water and they'll swim. When I drop them in the water and let them swim, I would put them in the water and watch them swim, because they're going to get their swimming legs. A lot of dogs have to learn to paddle, raise their behinds up in order to do this. So I'll be out in the water with them, pulling up their tails while they're swimming along. And so they get that rhythm. Remember, swimming is muscle memory. For the dogs, it's the same thing. So suddenly now, say you have like I'm doing, have a transition dog, which is Ashworth and Broadway. We're teaching Broadway to sprint. Well, Ashworth is jumping from the side of the pool. He's climbing out of the adult ladder, and this little dog's at the end of the pool going like this. Am I supposed to be learning how to do that? Absolutely. So the closeness that you get, the bonding of the dog, the little puppy, because he's small. He's a small little puppy. You grab him just like a little baby, and you walk him out into the water, and you hold him and let him float with you for a while, and he goes, oh, yes, this is not bad at all, is it? Then you let him go. And then he'll swim. You give him the direction to swim back to the steps. And then suddenly he realizes, oh, I can do this. And then you go get him again, and you bring him out, right? Hold him, say, okay, go ahead. Push him back to the steps, and he's swimming back to the steps. And he's probably swimming 20 feet. He doesn't realize it, and he's doing it all by himself. And this is encouragement. I'm encouraging the whole way, saying, good puppy, good doggy. Oh, good job. Of course, Emerson's jumping in. I'm not Emerson. Well, he was Emerson. He did the same thing.
I believe it, yeah.
Ashworth would jump in right and left, going after the Frisbees, and then it becomes a game. For me, it's great exercise for the puppies, because it adds just a different twist to just them running in the yard. Water therapy has always been good for people. In any way, swimming's always good. The dogs enjoy it. They like to see you in there. They like a different type of engagement. You're floating in there. Can I float with you? Well, not a lot of dogs will volunteer, but through coaxing, they certainly will get involved with it. So those are the kind of things, and that's part of it. And there's several things that I kind of like play with at times, and I'll demonstrate this to you.
Mike Hartsky here on Fire Breathing Rob. Mike, let's talk about this. What is the toughest commands to train a CCI dog that you do?
Oh my goodness gracious. It's always positioning. Remember, the success of any dog is the dog completes it in position. The puppy raiser has to learn the positioning before the dog succeeds in the command. So a lot of errors that are made in puppy class is because the dog's willing to do it. It's just the position of the person is incorrect. And if you manage the position correctly, the dog's going to complete the commands. So, and commands are practice anytime. You could be sitting in the kitchen and a dog's laying on the rug while you're fixing dinner, and you accidentally drop something on the floor, and you know the dogs aren't to eat anything from the floor, and they leave it there. So the dog leaves it there, and that's a good boy. That's you give him a treat from his treat bag and not from the kitchen counter or kitchen table. He gets that for being such a good dog. And at the same time, you'd be washing some vegetables in the sink, and he's laying on the carpet there watching you, because the dogs are social. They're going to be there, and you can just say, stand, and the dog gets up on all fours and stands. So you're saying you're practicing your commands in the daytime, in the spare time that you have while you're doing other things continuously. You can work on a down stay. You can work on anything that requires him not to move from position. For instance, sit is an applied stay. He is not to break the sit until you release him to another command. Down is the same way. Stand, down, back. I mean, there's several things that are positioning commands that you can't move or break from unless you release from them. So those are the things, like I said, you can work on the sideline. So you're training all the time. It's just a lot of times people forget the dog's laying there. Maybe he could do something, for you while you're doing that.